Sitting at a round table in a small bar, Lina felt out of place. Her friend Melissa, a cheerful and energetic brunette, literally pushed her out of the house, saying that the girl urgently needed a change of scenery. "Lina, you can't sit at home forever and feel sorry for yourself," Melissa insisted, sipping her cocktail through a straw. "Your ex is not worth you, it's his problem that he's an idiot." "I know, Mel," Lina sighed, pushing her glass of wine aside. "But it's not that simple. He was a part of my life, for almost 3 years." Melissa sighed and rolled her eyes. "It's so simple. All you need is one night. One night to feel alive. Find someone cute, talk, have fun." Lina shook her head. "It's not my thing, you know that." Melissa smiled, looking somewhere over her shoulder. "You might change your mind. Look who just walked in." Lina turned around to see a tall man with a confident posture, heading toward the bar. His dark hair was a little disheveled, but that only added to his charm. He seemed to know exactly what impression he was making on others. "Don't even think about it," Lina muttered. "I don't think so," Melissa smiled slyly. "But he's definitely looking your way." Lina felt her cheeks heat up. "That's enough, Mel. That's not why we're here." But later, when the man came closer and offered to buy her a drink, Lina suddenly felt a surge of desire. The stranger's name turned out to be Daniel. Conversation with him was unexpectedly easy. Lina laughed, feeling free and alive for the first time in months. When he suggested they continue the evening in his hotel room, she hesitated for a moment, but under the influence of alcohol and a broken heart, she agreed. In the morning, Lina woke up in an unfamiliar bed, surrounded by soft white sheets. Daniel was still asleep next to her, his face looking calm and peaceful. She quietly got out of bed, got dressed, and left, leaving only silence in her wake. It was a one-time decision, she told herself firmly. The next week, Lina threw herself into work. She tried not to think about Daniel or that night. But when the company's new CEO was introduced at the weekly conference room meeting, her insides went cold. "Meet Daniel Croft, our new CEO," her boss announced. Lina looked up and her gaze met the same gray eyes. Daniel froze for a moment, but then he smiled warmly and slightly cheekily. "Pleased to meet you," he said. Lina felt her heart pounding. After the meeting, Daniel approached her in the hallway. "Lina, isn't it?" he said with a small smile. Yes," she replied, trying to appear calm. "It's interesting how small the world is, isn't it?" She blushed, unsure of how to respond. "Daniel, I think it would be best if we forgot about what happened." "Forget?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. "I'm afraid it's going to be more difficult than you think." Lina remained silent. Her professionalism had always come first, but this man had already upset her usual routine. "Okay," Daniel continued, his gaze turning serious. "I respect your desire to be professional. But remember, I'm not one to give up." Lina tried to avoid unnecessary interactions with Daniel. She would arrive at the office early and leave late to avoid the meeting. But Daniel didn't seem to notice, or was just faking it. He remained polite and professional during meetings, but there was something in his eyes that made her heart beat faster. One day, he approached her while she was working late. "Lina, everyone has already left. What are you doing here?" he asked, entering her office. She looked up from her screen and quickly replied. "Finishing up a presentation for tomorrow's meeting." "You work too much," he said quietly, sitting on the edge of her desk. "Sometimes it's good to give yourself a break." "Thank you for the advice, but I'm coping," she replied coldly, hoping he would go away. But instead, Daniel leaned closer, his voice quieter. "Are you still mad about that night?" Lina felt her face flush. "I'm not mad. I just think it's a bad idea to mix the personal and the professional." He smiled, looking at her as if he could read her mind. "Lina, I respect your opinion. But I think we both know there's something between us." She stood up to create distance. "Daniel, I'm here for my career. It's the most important thing to me. He looked at her carefully, as if trying to gauge her resolve. Okay, he finally said, standing up. I won't push it. But if you ever change your mind, you know where to find me. He left, leaving her alone with her thoughts. Lina felt her inner barriers begin to crack. A few weeks passed in tension. Lina successfully prepared and completed several large projects, for which she was praised at the general meeting. Daniel was there, but his praise was short and neutral, which only increased her inner anxiety. One day, the company organized a company trip to a country villa for team building. Lina tried to stay away, but to her horror, Daniel turned out to be her partner in one of the games. It seems that fate likes to pit us against each other, he joked as they began to complete the task. Or maybe she's just kidding, Lina muttered, but she couldn't help but smile. The game required trust and cooperation from them. Working together, they laughed, joked, and felt surprisingly comfortable. When the task was completed, Lina realized that her protective walls had weakened a little. Later that evening, she went out onto the terrace to enjoy the silence. Daniel was there. I think we did pretty well, he said, coming closer. Yeah, we did pretty well, she agreed, looking up at the stars. There were a few seconds of silence, filled with a strange electricity. Lina, he said quietly, turning to her. You can push me away as much as you want, but you can't deny that there's something between us. She looked at him, feeling the tug of war between her mind and her emotions. Maybe there is, she whispered. But that doesn't change anything. Daniel came closer, but didn't touch her. That changes everything, he said quietly. We both know that. Lina sighed, feeling the boundaries she had tried to build begin to crumble. The next day, back at the office, Lina tried to focus on work, but thoughts of Daniel haunted her. She was sure of one thing: if she continued to deny her feelings, it would only complicate the situation. Daniel, on the contrary, remained calm and confident. His attention to Lina was unobtrusive, but constant. One day, he invited her to a personal meeting to discuss a new project. We could meet after work, he suggested. This is an important initiative, and I want to hear your opinion. Lina knew that the meeting would not be just business. In the evening, she came to the specified place, a small cozy restaurant. Daniel greeted her with a smile, and she realized that she could no longer fight what she was feeling. The evening at the restaurant passed much easier than Lina expected. They discussed the project, but soon the conversation turned to personal topics. Daniel turned out to be an intelligent and subtle conversationalist who knew how to listen and hear. She realized that behind his confidence there was a man with deep feelings and a complex history. I didn't want to be a CEO, he suddenly admitted. It was my family's decision. I wanted to build my own business, but I know, in the tradition. Lina, listening to him with genuine interest. And you? He asked. Have you always wanted to work in marketing? Not always, she smiled. I dream of becoming an interior designer. But life made its own adjustments. Too bad, he answered. I think you would have been in this brilliant one. The words sounded sincere, and Lina felt her heart flutter. But she knew that all this was dangerous. When they said goodbye in the restaurant, Daniel said, Lina, I respect you and your boundaries. But I want you to know that for me you are much more than just an employee. She did not answer right away. Thank you, she whispered, turning away. Their relationship remains under a veil of secrecy. Lina tried to maintain her composure, but the emotions she had suppressed were growing stronger. One day, at a meeting, she noticed that one of the new employees, Anna, was flirting with Daniel too much. This made Lina feel strangely jealous. She fought not to show it, but Daniel seemed to notice her reaction. After the meeting, he approached her. Are you okay? He asked, looking into her eyes. Yes, of course, she answered quickly, but her voice betrayed her emotions. Lina, he said quietly. If something is bothering you, you can tell me. She was about to answer, but the phone rang. It was her ex. After talking to him, Lina felt crushed. He was trying to get back into his life by reminding her of old mistakes. Daniel saw her depressed state and insisted on talking. "You don't have to put anyone through this," he said in a firm but warm voice. Lina was vulnerable for the first time and told him about the pain she had suffered in the past. Daniel listened carefully and found that he was willing to support her, no matter how hard it was. The next day, Lina learned that Anna was spreading rumors about her special relationship with Daniel. This caused tension in the team and earned her respect. Lina was desperate. She decided to meet with Daniel and tell him straight out that their relationship had to end. "I can't do this anymore," she said, standing in his office. "It's too difficult, and it's starting to interfere with my work." Daniel was silent for a few seconds, then came closer. "Lina, I understand that you're under pressure. But I won't let anyone ruin what we have." "What if this goes any further?" she asked, her voice shaking. "Then we will fight together," he answered firmly. Despite all the difficulties, Lina and Daniel decided to reveal their relationship to their colleagues. This caused a stir, but Daniel, as a leader, a preacher of firmness and power, declared that their personal feelings did not affect work. Meanwhile, the rumors died down. Lina proved her value as a specialist, and not as a boss's girlfriend. Their relationship began to be about how to combine wealth and love. A year passed. Lina was sitting on the terrace of a huge country house, where the company organized a festive event in honor of the end of a successful financial year. During this year, her career had advanced significantly. Thanks to hard work and a creative approach, she became the head of the marketing department. Daniel, as promised, always supported her. Their relationship became open, but this did not interfere with either work or love. They learned to separate the personal and professional, although sometimes it was difficult. Lina looked around. Colleagues were laughing, raising glasses to success, live music was playing. The atmosphere was light and relaxed. She felt someone's presence nearby, and, turning around, saw Daniel. "Where have you been?" he asked with a smile, handing her a glass of champagne. "Just enjoying the moment," she answered, accepting the glass. They stood next to each other, looking at the starry sky. Daniel looked thoughtful, and Lina noticed how he tried to start a conversation several times, but stopped. "What are you thinking about?" she asked, lightly nudging him with her shoulder. He took a deep breath and turned to her, taking a small velvet box out of his pocket. "Lina," he began in a serious voice, but his eyes shone with tenderness. "This year has been special for me. Not only because the company has achieved great success, but also because you have become a part of my life." Lina's heart sank. "You have shown me that love is not only passion, but also trust, respect, mutual support. You have changed my life, and I want to spend every second with you." He opened the box, which contained an elegant diamond ring. "Will you become my wife?" Lina stood there in confusion, but only for a moment. Her eyes filled with tears, but they were tears of happiness. "Yes," she whispered, and then repeated louder, "Yes." The guests who witnessed this scene burst into applause. Lina and Daniel, surrounded by friends and colleagues, realized that their love was not only a personal victory, but also an inspiration for everyone around them. A few months later, Lina and Daniel had a small but beautiful wedding in the company of close people. Lina finally allowed herself to dream and make plans where work and family exist in harmony. Daniel supported her in her decision to open her own business, a small interior design studio, which she had always dreamed of. He proudly told everyone that his wife was not only a talented marketer, but also a real artist. Their life was full of difficulties, but they always found the strength to overcome them together. The love that began as a chance meeting became the basis for a new, happy future.